the thing I want to talk about with you is having this day-to-day, fully present, eye to eye with someone in an office setting, while also having this other thing of trying to create this vision of bringing
Another
it abroad.
intention. Another intention.
Yeah, another intention.
Okay.
So what is the balance? So when I talk about the future, it feels really good and I can see it happening, and I want to be the one to almost create my own little thing and not go through these um companies that already have something built.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that almost takes away from the feeling and idea of being really, and the intention of being really present day to day. Like they're
Okay.
kind of
So
conflicting ish.
yeah, and yet let's think, yeah, they're not so much conflicting as maybe complementary, overlapping, or staggered,
Yeah.
right? So I mean, here are a couple of things that come to mind. So let's just spew them, I'll just splatter them out and then see where we go.
Okay.
So the intention for you, as it sounds like you were starting with, for your day with your patients in this new practice, in this whole new endeavor for you, of being present with them, being, right there with them, whether you're in a 1 hour initial session or a 15-minute follow-up, all of that. Being present as a concept, as a practice, is absolutely the best place to be all the time. It's the place from which everything else happens. So it's also, being present goes hand in hand with setting intentions, right? Because when we're driving an old jalopy and we have an intention for a brand new car, what's required of us is to still be in the present, but kind of in the energy of the new car. So my body's in this old car. I don't know how or when the new car is going to show up, but because of this little bugger, the law of attraction's always on. I don't want to bitch and moan about being in the old junker that I'm in. I want to bring as much energy in this present moment to what I want to experience in the future. I'm basically planting seeds. I'm investing energy, right? So I'm driving the old car while I am imagining what it feels like to be in the new car, and what color the new car is, and what it smells like, and how people look at me when I'm in the new car, and whatever those things are that are all part and parcel of my new car intention. And yet I'm still driving a car. I've still got to be present to where I am. I've still got to pay attention and stop at the red lights and go when I'm supposed to go, and slow down and stop when I'm supposed to do that, and to, be aware. So it's a matter of, again, we have 90,000 thoughts a day, 90% of which we had yesterday. So it's a matter of, on purpose, investing as much of our time and energy in thinking and feeling into the new intention as we can in that moment. So if you are out on a hike in the morning in nature and quiet, or you find some suburban version of that, sorry, and and you can just live in that intention that you're starting to develop, it sounds like, for the other way of working, right? That's not happening today, because in an hour and a half, you're going to be in your office in your white coat dealing with the patients you have today. So in the morning, when you're up there doing that, you have all the time and space to invest in that new intention. And yet when you're with your patients in your office, you have, I know from previous work that we've done, you have your intention, as you were talking about, for that. So it's not either or, it's really both and. It's just, what can I do right now? Now, look, I have no idea what it's like to be in your body, to be with a patient, right? And if your intention is shiny and clear and you've really aligned with that, you're not going to have too hard a time staying with it. But the other intention, and there's no limit to the number of intentions that any of us can have at any time, but we don't always have equal time every single day to invest in every single one of them. So it's really about having that other one developed, formalized, shiny and clear at the ready to give it that attention whenever you want. But the last thing I want to say about this, and then tell me what you're thinking, is that even when you are fully present in your office as it is today, with the patients you have today, fulfilling your own intention to be present with them, to have no judgment, to be a vessel and a conduit for healing, your willingness and ability to stay present in that environment and for those purposes fuels any other intentions you have anyway.
Right. So you have to pretty much essentially delegate. So for a new intention that, feels really good, and you can envision it happening, not necessarily, in completion, right? Not really caring as to how, why, or when it will happen, just to give it enough time delegated aside from, the 8 to 6 workday, let's say.
Yeah, but I don't love the word aside because it
Okay.
makes it seem like a lesser intention.
Right.
Maybe it is, but it doesn't feel or sound like it is. So it's just a matter of when you can. So, I've had plenty of times in my life where I've had, let's say, half a dozen what I would call major intentions running at the same time.
Right.
And my practice would be, I'm going to devote an hour and a half in the morning to my intentions. I have an hour and a half. I have 6 major intentions and all kinds of smaller ones, right?
Right.
So I take that time and I just, for me anyway, listen to inspiration. Now that I've got room and space, which one of these needs or wants intention? I just sort of feel it. And for me, and again, when we're listening to inspiration, it's up to each of us to kind of figure out and learn how Spirit speaks to us, how we receive our guidance. And inevitably, for me, it's always one of them just comes right up to the whatever intention. It's like, oh,
Right.
okay, I'll do that. Now I have an hour and a half. I'm not stressing and trying to get all 6 of them in. I'm going to ride this one because that's the one that came up that wanted attention. Maybe it'll take 5 minutes of intention. Maybe it'll take up the whole hour and a half. And then I'll leave that session and I will have devoted all of it to one intention and none of it to the other 5. But again, everything is energy. And the most important thing with any of our intentions is getting into that feeling place and holding it.
Right.
So I know that if I'm in that feeling place and holding it for one of my intentions, it serves all the others anyway. It really does. So really, it sounds, Ian, like the next step is for you to really formalize that intention. Right. You seem to already have a fairly clear vision of it. So now it's about crystallizing that, getting it shiny and clear, using, I certainly, in this case, would use our old intention setting guide that we're famous for here in spiritual workout world, and having a go at it. But then, it's also, so does that make sense? Does that feel like Absolutely. It would help you?
Yeah, and I think it's, important to note that this new idea and vision didn't necessarily come out of me not enjoying what I'm doing right now, right? Like everything is going super well and it's brand new, and I'm really excited to see how everything plays out in the office life.
So here's the deal. I want to talk just mechanically about what all this sounds like to me.
Okay.
So Ian has created what I would call a formal, robust intention for his practice, as we've been saying. Yeah. And it has a lot of ideas in there. There's a whole paragraph. So it has this and this and this in it. Now this whole new thing comes in, and it's not by accident. And what do you know? it happens to fit at least one of the aspects that he already has going. So at this point, he can expand the current intention, but really more likely going to start a whole new one for this other maybe next thing or other way to practice as a chiropractor in this world in a way that fits for you, right? So the point that is really worth underscoring here is that this new idea, no, there are no accidents, right? We are here for a reason. So all of a sudden you wind up in a place where you get lit up, you get inspired by something that just wasn't in your conscious thing. Maybe you thought that's for some other time or whatever it is.
Right.
And that whole idea is evidence of your intention in motion, your intention expanding. And that's the last major point I want to make here, is that that's what happens when we create an intention and we choose. Now, Ian, did you, working with me on this, did this intention come out like in 5 minutes and it was done?
No.
No.
The formal intention, no, it took, almost 2 full months or 6 weeks, let's say, after the first kind of initial conversations to really become more firm and to be. So my biggest issue was when I was forming it was I can really get to the feeling piece, but putting concise wording to it to where I can keep checking in, and it still continues to change, a word here, a word there. But the general bullet point concepts are all still the same. But yeah, it took a while to get to that wording to where I can just look at it or remember it. And it's like, oh yeah, that's what it is. That's how I'm feeling. Because I know for me personally, I feel like I can get to the feeling, close my eyes, take a couple deep breaths, get into a meditative presence and feel it. But then the harder part that took some time was to get it into writing, what it feels like, what it means, who can it affect, and all of those 3 pieces to the formal intention. I mean, it took me a week to understand that one sheet of paper was just for one intention.
Right. And so now the fact that this other new idea comes, it's in alignment with your original intention anyway, and it's its own thing, is evidence of the first one in motion. It's evidence of the universe working in its way. So you couldn't have you didn't plan to go to that thing that inspired you in the outside and gave you a whole new idea, right? It happened. Right. So when we say let go of how and we let go of when, Ian didn't have to figure out, how am I going to think of the next thing? What am I going to do after, even though I'm just 4 weeks into this and I've made a commitment here, what am I going to do? Right. And the universe is saying, here's an idea. Right. So now he has that. And that again is evidence of the whole thing in motion. And it's evidence of the co-creative process, that you're not in this alone. Right? So you really can let go of how, and you really can let go of when. And this new idea is itself a manifestation, and now worthy of its own.
Oh, absolutely.